House of the Dragon might be the latest dragon-obsessed TV show to gain everyone's attention, but we've all got to give respect to the OGs. And it seems in this case, How to Train Your Dragon might have been the movie that helped to pave the way for HOTD's amazing dragon sequence in the finale. In today's video, we'll go over this and a lot more. So let's dive right in. First off, here's how to Train Your Dragon inspired HOTD's dragon chase scene. The finale of House of the Dragon left us in shock when we saw the young Lucerys become a quick meal for his uncle Aemond's dragon, Vhagar. Plus, the dragon chase sequence that came before all this was some of the best we've ever seen from Game of Thrones. Some eagle-eyed fans were able to spot certain similarities with another movie that has intense dragon action scenes. This is, of course, How to Train Your Dragon. While many were quick to write it off as a coincidence, the episode's director took to Entertainment Weekly to explain his inspiration for the explosive season finale. And yes, How to Train Your Dragon was very much involved behind the scenes. Greg Yaitanes, the director of the 10th episode of House of the Dragon, confirmed that the DreamWorks film inspired the show's pivotal moment. The director added that he watched the first movie to prepare for the finale. Being a fan of Roger Deakins, a visual consultant for the movie, Greg knew that the final result would be cinematic and appealing. Sir Roger has worked on many amazing movies with amazing cinematography, like Blade Runner 2049 and Skyfall, so it only makes sense that Greg would want to follow in his footsteps. Yaitanes might have gone a bit too far though. He admitted that he had to change a few shots from the final cut because they were too similar to the movie. Next, could we be seeing more scenes inspired by How to Train Your Dragon in the future? There's no denying that House of the Dragon will go full dragon on us very soon. With the death of Rhaenyra's son, Luke, war banners are ready to fly, and along with them, the dragons will take to the skies in the anticipated Dance of the Dragon Civil War. While the first season of the Game of Thrones prequel might have been setting things up since it was a prologue, we're expecting to dive headfirst into war with Season 2. And with that, we're sure the number of dragon action scenes we see will probably double too. We wonder if that means that the directors of future episodes will take inspiration from other dragon-related media, maybe even looking at some other shots from How to Train Your Dragon. Considering how well developed these movies tend to be, we wouldn't be surprised if this was the case. The Vhagar and Arrax chase sequence in House of the Dragon's finale was some of the most awe-inspiring stuff we've seen from Thrones. The director showed the difference in scale between the two dragons, and the setting, high above the clouds of Storm's End, was just the icing on the cake. Because of this, if the directors do decide to take inspiration from How to Train Your Dragon in the future, we're sure the fans wouldn't have any problems with it. From one great dragon-focused project to another, right? Plus, what was the fan reaction to seeing the two similar scenes? Believe it or not, fans were memeing at the possibility that the HOTD finale may be taking inspiration from the How to Train Your Dragon dragon-riding sequences, even before the episode came out. So it's all the more hilarious to now learn that even the director had the same idea in mind. Many fans were happy that their hunches were proven right, and others wondered why they didn't notice the similarities earlier. Stans of both franchises also took to social media websites to argue which series had the better dragons. Fans also joked about what other animated movies House of the Dragon could be taking inspiration from. Shrek is a possibility, we suppose. Some even stated that the episode should be renamed to How Not to Train Your Dragon, and that's just about the truest thing we've heard all week. It's great to see different franchises get along, especially because of their shared love for dragons. And with that, let's discuss some of the betrayals you can expect in the second season of House of the Dragon. Moving on, here's how Daemyra is going to get worse in Season 2. Daemyra fans were up in arms after an especially shocking scene in the finale. Daemon and Rhaenyra weren't the perfect power couple everyone imagined them to be. Color us shocked. Daemon, in a fit of rage, choked his niece. We mean wife. This led to fans arguing that the writers weren't doing justice to Daemon's character and making him out to be a villain. Keep in mind, everyone, that this is the guy who murdered his ex-wife in cold blood. If you were hoping for things to turn around in the second season, you're in for more disappointment. Daemyra will only go further downhill with the show's second season. In the second season, the two will continue to drift apart, and then Daemon will cheat on his wife with not one but two other women. The first as Mysaria, the White Worm. You could argue that this was done as a strategic advantage, since the White Worm owns an effective spy network in King's Landing, and so the information she has to offer could be useful to Rhaenyra's cause. But Mysaria and Daemon were romantically involved earlier too, so we cannot help but feel it isn't a strategic decision. The second person is a 17-year-old bastard girl named Nettles, who claimed a dragon called Sheepstealer. The two were rumored to have an affair while on a journey together to the Trident. Up next, could the writers be making Daemon out to be a bigger villain than he is? While House of the Dragon's first season was mostly spotless, one big point of contention between the writers and the fans was the overwhelming love for Daemon in the audience. Some fans even thought that the writers were needlessly trying to make him out to be a villain when he could have been a much more nuanced and layered character. In some of the deleted scenes from House of the Dragon's first season, we note that Daemon had some emotional moments that were cut out of the show. The most notable one from this is when he's seen hugging his daughters after the death of his second wife, Laena. Fans were pretty upset with this change, especially because the scene that replaced it featured Daemon as a very distant father figure who left his daughters to mourn their recently deceased mother alone. There's another scene of Daemon's that got cut. This is from the finale after Daemon received news that Viserys had died. Based on the screenshots that have surfaced online, some think there was supposed to be a sequence of Daemon letting out his frustration and sadness on the beach alone as he swings his sword at the sand. The scene also didn't make it to the final cut, which showed that Daemon was mostly focused on warmongering and developing strategies for the upcoming conflict, despite Rhaenyra wanting to opt for peace if possible. Finally, House of the Dragon's writer doesn't understand the audience infatuation with Daemon. We can't say for certain if the writing team is purposely out to make Daemon look more like a villain than he is supposed to be in the books. But one thing's for certain though, they don't get why you all are going completely nuts over him. Sarah Hess, one of the show's writers and executive producer, told The Hollywood Reporter that she's baffled by the fact that Daemon has become the internet's boyfriend. She thinks Matt Smith, who portrays the character on screen, is quite charismatic, but Daemon himself is just the kind of person everyone should think twice before thirsting over. Hess asked fans in what way Daemon was a good partner, father, or brother to anyone in his life. And you just know that the army of Daemon stans didn't appreciate these comments. They took to Twitter to vent their frustrations at the writer's views. One tweet stated how it's not surprising that the same producer who stated that nobody cared about small folk when Rhaenys killed hundreds of them in a pointless scene was the same person to not be a fan of Daemon. Some fans argued that Hess is the reason why fans like Daemon. After all, her writing has made him into a more complex and interesting character. So if anything, she should be impressed that fans are managing to like Daemon, despite some of his, let's just say, criminal acts. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on House of the Dragon taking a page from How to Train Your Dragon's book for its finale? Comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.